do spiritually if I'm feel like I'm internally obligated to talk about Baker Mayfield, but the people above me say, "Hey, we're your boss. Don't talk about it." Then you have to make that decision.
I think I would have said, okay, I get it.
Would that come from your previous experience
Yeah.
of being fired
Yeah.
before for
Yeah.
saying something you weren't supposed
Yeah, I
to
think,
say?
I would have reconciled it internally by saying, I submit to God. God puts people in authority over you. I have prayed before with difficult bosses. Help me to submit to their authority. You have them in authority over me for a reason. Help me to submit to their authority.
See, that I'm surprised about that because of your upbringing. I mean,
well, I think probably I didn't have a choice to submit to that authority, and I think it made me. And I don't mean like I resented my dad, but I think it was like once I got out of the house and I could spread my wings and had the freedom to say no. I was like, I got 20 years of making up for this. I got 20 years of not being able to say no. So a lot of people are going to get no.
It's interesting because my whole life I was brought up as a player, being the son of a coach. And so through that prism of always dealing with coaches in my life, in my adult life, I always submitted to authority unless it was something completely, off the rails.
I think I had a more rebellious spirit than you did.
I believe that. Yeah. And that's not. I mean, I'm not a rebellious person.
Yeah.
I'm really not. I'm told what to do, and I had this conversation with Charles Davis, a good friend of ours, my colleague at Fox. His dad was a basketball coach for 35 years, high school basketball coach. And Charles and I will say, we'll give our complaints to each other, right? Everybody has complaints about something, whatever it is. And then we always end a conversation like this. You know what happens, Charles? People know that Chris and Charles will do what they're told to do because that's who they are. It doesn't matter. They will do what they're told to do because they're coaches' sons. And that's so true.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time we were having an in-depth conversation about something. And it was about work. And I said, Charles, it doesn't matter. This is when we worked together. It was something with 3-man booth. It doesn't matter if you want your own booth or I want my own booth or whatever the conversation was. I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what we say, because what we're going to do is what we're going to be told to do, and we do it because that's who we are. That's how we were brought up. You just do it.
Yeah, I got that conflict because I have the responsibility gene many, many times over, and if you have an expectation of me to do it, I'm going to do it.
It's enhanced, you're saying, your responsibility gene?
Yeah, but then you're like, well, I don't, then my prideful, rebellious spirit conflicts with that sometimes. Here's a right thing to do question. Mel Tucker, the new head football coach at Michigan State, is under heavy criticism from Colorado boosters because the night before Mel took the job at Michigan State, he attended a big-time donor event at Denver Country Club where he pledged his all-in loyalty to the Colorado Buffaloes. Guys gave a bunch of money. He hobnobbed. He got in a car to go home, and an hour later, the deal with Michigan State was consummated, and before he went to bed that night, Mel was on a private jet to East Lansing, filming a video message. Hey, Spartan Nation, can't wait to see you in East Lansing. Wow. Go green. So, obviously, Michigan State was negotiating the final terms of the contract with his agent while Mel Tucker was at this Denver event, and he would have known that. And so reconcile that for me. Sometimes it's okay for people to be mad, and it's still okay for Mel Tucker to leave. It's kind of how I look at it. Like he's the coach at Colorado until he's not, and he wasn't the coach at Michigan State until they agreed to it.
I think he has a responsibility. Again, you go back to the responsibility gene, and I'm putting myself in that situation. and knowing the history of the coaching business and deals that can fall apart at the very last second, that I am not going to risk my job at Colorado until I sign on the dotted line, until I have it in paper in hand saying that I am the new coach at Michigan State. It's an awful position to be in. He was put into that position, some by circumstances and some by choice.
Yeah, the event was scheduled, no doubt, way ahead of time. So he's honoring a previous commitment. The only thing I'd know would be to say, cancel last minute. Would they have felt any better about it if he canceled last minute rather than went there and pledged his allegiance to the Buffaloes?
No, because if the deal wasn't in hand, then he wouldn't do it. I remember when I was negotiating between ESPN and Fox wanted me to come out to visit the studios and meet some people, and I told him I can't come out there unless I sign a contract first, because I'm not going to go out there, not have a contract, and have ESPN through that business where, the rumors are as rampant as it is in the coaching business, without a contract in hand, because I don't want to getting back to ESPN that I'm out on Fox Studios talking to people.
Right, because the ESPN could say we're not going to renew you, and Fox might decide they don't want you.
So I'm going to cut my throat on both ends. No thanks.
Yeah.
So I understand why Mel did it. I don't have a problem with that. These guys are put into that situation.
And Mel can't go. I mean, you could say, well, Mel could, say, right at this moment, I'm a Colorado Buffalo, but my agent, I'm expecting a phone call later tonight to let me know. I mean, there are just some situations in life that just aren't doable.
Because every word is then broken down into how you say it, right? There's no way that a coach can answer that question honestly when he's being courted by somebody else without damaging somebody. Nobody can. There's no win-win situation in that, because we've seen it so many times now that we always look for little buzzwords, don't we, in those situations?
Well, his buzzword that if he had asked for my input, I would have said, don't tweet after interviewing with Michigan State.
Yeah, I don't know why that came.
Don't tweet that you're committed to Colorado. You can tweet, I'm very honored to be considered for the job at Michigan State. I'm excited about the future at Colorado.
Okay, but then
I wouldn't say committed.
Then again, my point being is that people will take that and say, well, you're not committed, right? Somebody's going to take offense to that. I'll give you the perfect example that just happened yesterday or last week, whenever Hillary Clinton was on Ellen DeGeneres' show.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mike Bloomberg, the news broke yesterday, came out and said that he might have Hillary Clinton as a running mate.
Correct.
So on Ellen, Helen asked her, would you consider being somebody's running mate on the ticket as vice president? No.
Yeah, she essentially said
no. Then she said, I never say never. So no matter how many times she denies it, she finally said, you never say never, but no. So there's no way of getting around that. She can't get around it. She can't deny it without and today, driving in here, I was listening to a talk radio program, and that was the whole topic of conversation, even though she denied it.
What if her answer was, I can't envision the circumstances where I would do that, but I never say never. That's my answer when people ask me. I had a job a while back before the Zone, and somebody met with me and asked, would you be interested in? And I said, well, that's not an offer. If you have an offer or you want to talk about an offer, I will always listen. But I told the person, I don't anticipate the scenario you're painting being a plausible scenario.
Yeah, on a much less pressure-packed level, I get asked the question when you ever go into coaching, still to this day. And I say, I love what I do in TV. I do. I will not, I never say never, but I don't think I'd ever go into pro coaching or college coaching because of time demands. But I'm not going to say I'm never going to coach. I'm not going to say I wouldn't coach at a high school. I'd love to coach linebackers at a high school level one day. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I don't know. But I'm always looking for new challenges?
Spielman and Hooley podcast at gmail.com, coaches, if you're looking for a linebacker coach. You're
What's,
going to get offers now that you said that.
Jonathan Alder, do you need anything?
Jonathan
while
Alder,
I'm out
need
here,
anything?
while I'm out here, do you need a linebacker
Alder,
coach?
Alder Pioneers need a linebacker coach.
Here's the thing too. Sometimes I get emails or contacted about how to play linebacker, or what I tell my kid. Give me some pointers. And my pointers: see the ball, get the ball. It's not that hard. Tackle a guy with the ball. Find him and go tackle him.
Find him and go tackle.
Remember the rough and tumble game?
Not particularly.
Well, maybe we only played that in the city, not out in the hinterland.
Oh, yes, now I remember the rough and tumble game. It had a different name, which definitely could not use now.
No.
I've never heard it called I never heard it called rough and tumble.
When I moved from the burbs when I was like 9 to the city, and it changed names when I moved to the city. Basically what it was, and this is what it boils down to playing linebacker. One guy carried the ball and everybody tried to tackle him.
Yes, that game I'm familiar with.
Then you throw the ball up and whoever caught it became the target.
There it, yeah.
Did you ever play that as a kid?
Yes, of course, all the time.
Could you imagine? We played that on the playgrounds all the time. And that's the only time I ever got in trouble in school, because I was organizing those football games and that rough and tumble game. And we weren't allowed to play tackle, which I thought was just un-American. And I told the teacher, and I used to cry because they would get mad at us. The recess monitors.
Yeah.
You remember those ladies?
Well, you can't play rough and tumble touch.
Well, they were, I mean, this is no, Then, so anyway, that's basically playing linebacker. There's the guy with the ball, run around people, be the first one to the ball, and tackle the guy. So after that experience, maybe no coaches would want me to be the head coach. So
I don't know. It's a
or
bottom line business.
Coach.
It's a bottom line business. I do think there's a way. Look, there's no way. Here's two things. You can say the right thing as a coach if you're Mel Tucker in that situation, to not paint yourself in a corner. But there's no way to say something without people knowing what you're really doing. He could say, "I'm honored to be evaluated at Michigan State, and I'm excited about the future at Colorado." So then the follow-up is, "So you're staying at Colorado?" "I'm here at Colorado right now. Every day I'm the coach at Colorado. I'm invested in Colorado." Well, right there that if he won't say, "Yeah, are you gonna be the coach at Colorado next month?"
That's the thing.
I can't say that. No, I don't want to answer that question. However he answers it, it's obvious he's still in play at Michigan State. So sometimes there's just some coaches taking that. I am not going to talk about any jobs other than a job I have.
I can do that.
If you stick to that all the time.
That's probably the best one.
All the time, stick to that. Hey, man, we heard your interview with Michigan State. I only talk about the job that I have. I'm the head coach at Colorado. And yet you say that to every question. But did you interview? I'm the head coach at Colorado. I only talk about the job I have. Pretty soon then the questions go away.
The worst exeter of coaching jobs is Bobby Petrino.
Yeah.
Didn't
he's
he
right up there.
Didn't he fly in the middle of the night in some...
Well, let's see. I think he was on staff at... he was on staff.
Louisville or flew to Auburn or something.
Yeah, there's something with Auburn and Bobby Petrino. Yeah. Yes, and a very disloyal move toward Tommy Tuberville, who was at Auburn at the time.
You remember?
Then he walked out on the Falcons and left them a note.
He left them a note on their locker room chairs. Isn't that unbelievable?
And next time you're at Minnesota, ask Mike Zimmer about Bobby Petrino.
Not a big fan.
Zim was the defensive coordinator at the Falcons.
He was?
Oh, yeah, I think so. And man, did he
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Let me call up his bio, but he ripped him.
I'm going to ask him. I might text him. Hey, I heard you're a big fan of Bobby Petrino. I thought Bobby Petrino was a really good head coach for a while. I don't even know where he is now. Is he still at Western Kentucky?
I don't know where he is. Here it is. November 12th, 2018. Zimmer was the Falcons' defensive coordinator.
Louisville's firing Bobby Petrino evokes Mike Zimmer's gutless.
Yeah, here it is. Zimmer was the Falcons defensive coordinator in 2007 when Petrino resigned. Here's what Zimmer told the Inquirer in 2010 about Petrino's resignation. I gotta read this slowly so I don't say something I shouldn't say. I was never even there. Yeah, on going back to Atlanta. So he was in Atlanta. Now he's going back to Atlanta as, in some capacity, as an NFL head coach. But
Right.
Zimmer says, I was never even there as far as I was concerned. I was never even there. When a coach quits in the middle of the year and runs a bunch of people's families and doesn't even have the guts to at least finish out the year, I am not a part of that. Then here's what he said of Petrino. He is a coward. Put that in quotes.
Wow.
He ruined a bunch of people's lives, a bunch of people's families, kids, because he didn't have enough, I'll say guts, to stay there and finish the job. That's the truth. Falcons lost on Monday Night Football. 24 hours later, Petrino was in front of Arkansas boosters doing the woo pig suey. Zimmer said, that is not common. He said, no, most people in football have enough courage about them and enough fight to stick through something and not quit halfway through the year. It is cowardly. He came in and said he resigned. He would talk to all of us at a later date. Walked out of the office, and no one has ever talked to him since. Not that anybody wanted to. He's a gutless blank.
Mm-hmm.
Quote that. I don't give a blank. When told that we might not be able to use the B word, Zimmer went one better. How about this? Gutless blank blank. You can use that. Thus, clearing up the mystery how Mike Zimmer feels about Bobby Petrino. There you go. Yeah. You can tell him you got a good laugh out of seeing his 13-year-old quotes about Bobby Petrino.
I don't think it's a really difficult situation for all coaches, but what Bobby did though.
Bobby has had
24 hours later doing the pig woo suey or woo pig suey.
Yeah. And then his exit at Arkansas, you get what you hire. I mean, you do. You get what you hire. And he leaves Arkansas with riding on a motorcycle with a woman he was having an affair with on his staff and claiming that it was a,
recruiting trip?
Claiming that he was out on a Sunday joyride alone when he wasn't. And I'll never forget the picture of him at the podium with a neck brace on. That was just, didn't look good. But guy can call plays, so somebody will always hire him.
Plays. You're right.
Yes,
right.
Indeed. All right. Email the show, Spielman and Hooley Podcast, gmail.com. Review us on iTunes. Watch us on YouTube. And follow us on Instagram. Faith portion of the podcast at the end of the show every day that we do the show, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I was thinking of you this morning, sir. I was thinking about a friend of mine who's going through a very difficult time, and been listening to him pour out his heart. And I just thought about one of the things that he said to me was that everyone asks about his wife because his wife is going through some health things. And he said, I feel bad saying this, but once in a while, I would like to know that people care about how I'm doing too. Mm-hmm. And I thought about how great it was that you and Steph started Stephanie's Champions to honor the caregivers. Because certainly we care for the people who are sick and hurting.
Sure. But
the people who support them also need our prayers and our appreciation and our acknowledgement, because that strengthens them to stay in the fight. So if you know someone who is caring for someone, provide a word of encouragement just by saying, hey, I'm obviously concerned about the person, husband, wife, son, daughter that you're caring for, and we're praying for them. But I want you to know that I'm inspired by how you are caring for them, and that I'm praying for strength for you, because it takes a lot to do that. So that was that made me reflect on you.
So I get that question asked a lot, right? People feel comfortable saying that. They almost feel guilty saying it to somebody else, but they feel like they can tell me because they know how I understand. And I understand your friend's feeling of helplessness, right? Mm-hmm. And I just know in my situation, the most frustrating thing for me was that I couldn't outfight something. I couldn't outwork it. I couldn't outlift it. I couldn't outrun it. I couldn't be more mentally tough than what we were fighting. And that's very frustrating because as a husband, my opinion, I don't know if this is true or not true, but I feel it's true to me, is that as a husband and the father, there's an instinct in us to protect, and to preserve, and to provide. I call that whatever 3 P's. People want to have different 3 P's. That's my 3 P's. Or one of the rules as a husband and a father: protect, preserve, provide. And I wasn't able to do that. In fact, we were in church Saturday night, and I saw these 2 little girls, and it's middle of February on Saturday night. It's cold. And I saw these 2 little girls with their dad, and they were, it just brought back a flood of memories when I was doing this alone, and how woefully inadequate I was compared to this dad. Because this dad had the girls in dresses, and they sat there and they were running around a little bit, having fun, but it was the joy of youth, and it brought back memories. And I started laughing. Then I thought, and I told Carrie this on the way out, but I started laughing because I was thinking back to when my 2 youngest were, it was those 2 and me a lot. And like how if I would take them to church, one would have on the baseball hat, the basketball shorts pulled up, and baseball hat on backwards, by the way, and a t-shirt. And the other one would be in a pink puffy dress and hair all disheveled, but they thought it was good. And the only hair thing I knew how to do was the horn. Remember the horn on top of the head?
Yeah.
People called it different things. But I just had this flood of good memories. Then I also remember that at night a lot of times, and Maddie was 15 and Noah was 13 and Mace was like 8, and Audrey was like 5 or 6. And I remember saying how woefully inadequate I was, so you beat yourself up all the time. Then when you can't help or help heal, and you feel like you're useless. But then you think back, okay, well, the only thing I can control is my vows. And is he married to this young lady?
Yes.
And I would say this, that what you're doing, and your character's often defined about what you do when nobody's looking. I would tell him that, look, when you said your wedding vows in front of your family and friends and God, and I'm assuming you said in sickness and in health, what you're able to do is you're able to live that. And what a great honor that is, to be called to that challenge and to respond to that challenge without wavering. And even though you do feel lonely or you feel helpless, what you are doing is setting an example for, do they have kids?
Yes.
For your children. You're setting an example for your friends, that when you made a vow to your wife on your wedding day in front of God in a church, that you meant it. And you have the great responsibility and honor to live that vow. And that's pretty cool. That's what I would tell him.
Yeah, I try to encourage him that it's a daily battle. And I have such great admiration for him doing that. And, you mentioned the ages of your children when Stephanie passed away, and those are very close to the ages of my children now. And I can hearken back to that time, and it gives me a new appreciation for what a difficult time that was, and how much admiration I have for your family persevering through that.
It's interesting. My wife said to me about this. We had a conversation, and we were talking, and she said, I look at your kids, and sure, when I first met you, and like, they're, and just girls, because guys don't see things, they're right. Just, you just don't know. You just didn't know, even though Steph left me directions on a lot of things. It didn't think that crossed my mind, right? And the thing that I'm humbled by the most, and I thought this was really God really working into my life, is that my kids during that very difficult time uh, never ran away from God. They ran to God. And I think that was my main purpose, not necessarily what they wore.
Mm-hmm.
And I even had a teacher at one of the schools call me and tell me that, hey, Macy needs to start dressing a little bit better like a young lady. And I took offense to that. And so then, of course, I rebelled. And, hey, Mace, where's your baseball hat?
Mm-hmm.
And why is it on frontwards? Put it on backwards. So, but my point was that without knowing it, but with also being a little bit aware, my biggest fear for my kids at that time was I never wanted them to blame God for the loss of their mother. I wanted them to understand that that eternal perspective at a young age. And to this day, I believe that they've made a choice about their own faith and making their faith their own. And they have chosen to be Christ followers, all four of them. And so that would be my greatest accomplishment, even though I was inadequate in so many ways. I think my greatest accomplishment was to, by example, be a man of faith, hoping that they would follow my lead to be young men and women of faith and continue to grow in that to this day.
Yeah, amen to that. That's,
So,
that's my greatest joy as well as a parent. Here's a verse that would apply to that. It's praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our troubles so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves have received. So you can comfort others with the comfort that you have received. And that is 2 Corinthians. I believe it's 2 Corinthians 1.
Okay. So I was thinking of you today.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And actually, this applies to you. Then I thought, okay, well, it applies to me. And
just out of Proverbs about the fool. Lots of verses in there you can hit.
No, it applies to everybody, but it was funny because, and the author is unknown. I wish I could take credit for writing this. I can't, but the author is unknown. It was called No, Know. I know he's the beginning, so why do I worry about the end? That's me, although I'm getting better at that. I know he is the creator, so why do I wonder who will destroy? I know he has forgiven me, so why can't I forgive myself? That definitely applies to me. If you go back to the last podcast, I talked about the confession I had where the priest told me, hey, you can't give away something you don't have, buddy. I know he's a healer, so why do I speak of sickness? That applied to me because of my struggles after Stephanie passed away. I had fear of taking my children to the doctor because I was afraid I was going to have bad news. I avoided getting a physical because I was afraid that I was going to have cancer. So those are some of the fears that I've lived with and have been able to overcome through time and heal and prayer and talking to people. And I really open it up here on this podcast, but I only do that because I want you to know that your fears are my fears or Bruce's fears. It's all our fears. I know he can do all things, so why do I say I can't? I know he will protect me, so why do I fear? I know he will supply all my needs, so why can't I wait? That's a patience problem. That's a patience problem.
I'm living that one.
So, yeah.
I am.
I know you are. That's why I'm saying I'm reading this, and I do that too. I'm not a patient person. I know he is my strength and my salvation, so why do I feel weak? Yes, that's me. At times, certainly is. I know that everything and everyone has a season. So why when someone's season is over do I weep instead of rejoice? I know he's the right way, so why do I go the wrong way? I don't have that answer, but that's me. I know he is a light, so why do I choose to walk in the darkness? I think I've improved, and I'm certainly more in the light than in the darkness than in years past. I know that whatever I ask of God, God will give me, so why am I afraid to ask? I know tomorrow is not promised, so why do I put off for tomorrow what I can do today? I know that the truth shall make me free, so why do I continue to lie? I know he gives us revelation, knowledge, and understanding, so why do I lean on my own understanding? I know I should live in the Spirit as well as walk in the Spirit, so why do I choose to live in the Spirit but walk in the flesh? Interesting. I know that when praises go up, blessings come down, so why do I refuse to praise him? That's pretty dead on me. I know I am saved, so why do I refuse the word he has given me? I'm okay on that one. I know he has a plan for me, so why am I rushing it? Because I am eager to do his will when it is his time and not my time. I'm going to read that again. I know he has a plan for me, so why am I rushing it? Because I am eager to do his will when it is his time, not mine time. So I thought that was interesting.
It's a good one for me right now.
And well, explain that to me, because I'm having a hard time understanding. I know he has a plan for me, so why am I rushing it? Because I am eager to do his will when it is his time, not my time.
Yeah, I'm on the cusp of, I have a plan for, as I've told the people here, taking some of the things and men that I've met in the past year have enlightened me on how to merge my faith with leadership and my sports background, and to make what I think can be an impact with character development in young people. I had a great meeting with a friend I met through FCA and through this podcast named Andy, really cool guy. Andy was very helpful to me. Looking forward to adding Andy to our team to move forward. So I feel strongly God's working in my life. He's working on something, and I'm trying to follow the promptings and proceed faithfully, but not get in front. I had a friend one time told me, he goes, "Do you believe God goes before you?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "I don't believe he goes before you." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "It's impossible to go before you. You're always on the front line fighting your own battles." He says, "He can't get in front of you." I'm like, "That's me, brother. Convicted." He said, "He can't get in front of you." Like, it's not possible.
Well, that used to be you.
I am trying for that not to be me. Yeah.
Yeah. You're doing a good job.
Well, thank you.
I actually,
it means a lot for coming from you. That means a lot.
I watched a movie doing the Peloton for 30 miles.
Tell the people how you're doing on the 6,000 miles.
But I watched the movie Overcomer about the cross country